Hi, the lesson that we're going to cover today is on setting up a document and working with pages. This lesson allows us the opportunity to create a publication from scratch and work with page layout elements. Creating and saving custom document settings. You can enter the values of your document or use an existing document preset. You can also save frequently used document settings so you don't have to create the setup again and again. Now, this would be useful if you had a publication that you were going to be working on, say, for example, every couple of months. So you could create the preset and then it would save that for you. And then whenever you created a new publication, you would apply that preset and it would automatically be set up for you. All right, so let's take a look at that very thing. Before we do, the textbook wants to make sure that our units and increments for our horizontal and vertical settings are both set to inches. Yours probably is, but let's just make sure. All right, so on my menu bar at the top, I'm going to go to Edit. And all the way at the bottom is my Preferences. Okay, and here is Units and Increments. And my ruler is already set to inches for horizontal and vertical, so that is great. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. All right, now we don't have a lesson file that we're going to start from this time. Since this is actually setting up a document and working with pages, we're actually going to create that preset first, and then we're going to create a new publication, a new document using that preset. So the first thing that we need to do is go to File, scroll down or move down here to the bottom to Document Presets, and then I need to do Define. Okay. All right. So we have our default preset that's in here, and then it shows the preset settings that you can actually scroll down and take a look at that. But what we need to do is actually create a new preset. All right. So if you click that new button, the new document preset is the dialog box is going to open for you. All right. And then we get to put the values that we need for this publication in here. All right. So document preset 1 is highlighted. So we are going to type in here newsletter. Okay. The intent is going to be print. I just wanted to show you that there is web and mobile, but we're going to keep that for print. The number of pages that we're going to need for today's lesson is going to be 8. You can leave the start page on page 1. All right. Make sure there is a check mark in facing pages. We do want our spread pages to be side by side, just like we would if we had it in a book. All right. The page size can stay as letter. And of course, the letter width and height is 8.5 by 11. And of course, that will be portrait. All right, our columns, we do need 3 columns for this. And then our gutter needs to be 0.125. Okay, our gutter is actually the space between our columns. All right, now down in our margins, we need to actually deselect this little chain right here because we do not want all these settings the same. All right, we want to be able to enter different values for top and bottom, inside and outside. All right, so for the top, we actually need 1.3125. And for the bottom, 0.375. For the inside, we can actually leave that at the default of 0.5 inches. And for the outside, we need to reduce this to 0.25 inches. Okay, now if your bleed and slug section is not expanded, go ahead and do that. And then you can leave the make all settings the same selected, the little link there, because what we're going to enter for top, once we tab, we'll go ahead and apply that to top, bottom, inside, and outside. All right, our book explains that they're going to actually have you put 0p9 in there. And since this is automatically going to convert for you to inches because our horizontal and vertical units and increments has already been set to inches, it will go ahead and convert that for us. All right. I'm just going to go ahead and put in there 0.125, and then I'm going to hit tab, and notice it went ahead and filled that in across. Okay. And then I'm going to click OK. And now notice under presets, we have our regular default, but now we have our newsletter. And then all of the information that we just entered, all of those values, if you scroll down, you can actually see all of that. Okay. And then I'm just going to go ahead and click OK, and that will save the preset. The bleed value specifies an area outside the perimeter of each page that is used to print design elements. Now that can include pictures, colored backgrounds, etc., that extend to the edge of the page. The bleed area is trimmed and discarded after the printing process. Now we will talk more in depth about the bleed as we move along and towards the end of the lesson. Okay, now that we have created our preset, what I want to do is go ahead and create the actual document, the publication that we're going to work on. Okay, so now I need to go back to File and New, and I'm going to create a document. Okay, now if your newsletter is not showing under Recent, that's okay. You can click right here and go to Saved, and here is your newsletter. Okay. And then here is all of the values that we actually had just entered when we saved our preset. You can actually see the preset details. All right, I'm going to go ahead and click on the preview, and you'll probably see it create the document behind the new document dialog box. All right, but we'll be able to see that in just a second. I'm going to go ahead and click on Create. So basically what that does is it just closes out that new document dialog box. And then this is what we see on our screen. Okay. All right. You do want to make sure that your rulers are visible. Yours should be visible by default because we have been using them. But if for some reason they're not, go to View up on your menu bar, and then you should see Show Rulers right here. And that would be Control R on a Windows, and I think that'd be Command R if you are on a Mac. Okay. I am going to work in the typography workspace. I know I had mentioned that at the beginning of the book with lesson 1 that I'm always going to be in typography. Okay. So if yours happens to be an essential, you're welcome to go ahead and switch that workspace to typography. All right. Now the first thing that I need to do, okay, now that we have created and saved our preset and then created a new document based on that preset, I'm going to go ahead and do a file save. Okay, and I want to save this in my homework folder for lesson 3. It's going to be 03 underscore setup. Okay. All right, it's saving. There you go. You can see it here on my document tab. All right. Now, before I actually go back and start in with the notes again and kind of get into creating a new document preset and explaining about the Pages panel, I just wanted to stop here for just a second, okay? I wanted to kind of explain to you guys what we're looking at on the screen, okay? All right, now in just a second, we're going to start creating some guides, all right? But before we do that, I wanted to show you what this is that we're specifically looking at. All right, so we do have a document, a publication, if you will, and it is 8 pages. So if you click open your Pages panel, okay, I wanted to show you that there are 8 pages here. Okay, you can clearly see them. All right, now what I wanted to show you is that here is the actual page size of 8.5 by 11. All right, here's the document size, the page size. All right, this area right here leading out to the red lines that you see on the exterior of the document, these are your bleed guides. We had spoken about that in lesson 1 and in 13 with the screen modes. All right, so the bleed guides are in red. So we can actually extend images and solid colored backgrounds off the edge of the page to the bleed guide. And then when they are printed, that ensures that colored background, those images will print all the way to the edge. Okay. Obviously, you do not want to do that with text, but that works great with images and solid colored backgrounds. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing on pages 2 and 3 as part of this lesson. All right. Now we set this up with 3 columns. So here's the first column, second column, third column. The area in between those columns is our gutter. All right. And that is 0.125 inches. So it's very narrow, but that does provide us enough space so that we have that blank space, that empty space in between those columns. Okay. All right. Now, I wanted to show you that the margins that we initially set up for top and bottom and inside and outside, this is what we're looking at with the kind of the pink color. All right. So our columns are in the purple color, and then our margins are in the pink color. Okay. So if we didn't have any columns, you would see the pink showing on the left and the right sides too. All right. But we do have columns there. So that's why it looks like it does. All right. Now, when we're getting ready here in just a second to add some guides, all right, those guides are going to be kind of a light blue cyan colored guide. And we'll talk more about that in just a second. But I just wanted to explain to you what you're seeing on the screen, because whenever you're creating a document in InDesign for the very first time, it can be a little bit overwhelming at what you're looking at, because you see your page and you see a whole bunch of basically kind of predefined lines that you haven't even done anything with yet. That's just from the setup. All right. So if you understand what you're looking at, that will help you to be a little bit more comfortable as we move along. All right. Moving on to the section in the text, creating a new document from a preset. All right. Upon creating the new document, which of course we just did, you will note that the Pages panel will show the layout of the pages. The panel is divided into 2 sections. The upper section displays thumbnails of the document's parent pages. All right, a parent page is like a template that you can apply to any page in a document and contains elements such as headers, footers, page numbers, etc. that will appear on all the document pages applied to them. The lower section of the Pages panel displays thumbnails of document pages. Okay. All right. So I also wanted to tell you this, and I put it in bold in our notes. It is important to understand that when you create a document of facing pages, so remember, facing pages are pages like spread pages 2 and 3, 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. They're the ones that are side by side, just like the view you would have with a book. Okay. All odd numbered pages are on the right side. All even numbered pages are on the left side. Okay, and that holds true. So if we open our Pages panel, I want to show you that 1, 3, 5, and 7 are actually on the right-hand side. 2, 4, 6, and 8 are on the left-hand side. It's the same with your book. If you take a look at your InDesign book, it's the exact same. Okay, so all even numbers are going to be on the left side. All odd numbers are going to be on the right side pages. Okay, now let's take a look at the Pages panel. As the notes and our text had explained, this Pages panel is divided into 2 sections. Okay, you can clearly see that it has a line divider here, which of course is movable. All right, the top portion is specifically devoted to parent pages. That is basically like our template page. Anything that we apply to a parent is going to be applied to the document pages based on it. Okay. Now, all InDesign documents come in and are created with a parent. Okay. Even if you never put anything on a parent, it comes in by default. Okay. In addition to, I wanted to show you that of the 8 pages that we have included in our document, all right, that A is automatically applied to it. You know that because in the upper right and left-hand corner of these pages, you see that capital A, and if you hover, it actually tells you a parent applied, all right? So that is something that's going to be very useful to us as we create and do page layout on the A parent page. Okay. All right. Working with parent pages. Before you begin designing the pages, and this does include the adding of text and images, you will want to set up your parent pages. Everything that you add to a parent page will also be displayed on the document page to which it has been applied, because the parent page serves as a template for the document page. Okay, you can add guides, which are non-printing lines that will help you lay out a document. And that allows us to have precision placement of our elements. Okay, you can create a guide by, quote, dragging it down from the ruler. All right, our rulers, of course, are horizontal on the top and vertical on the left. Now, if you press Control or Command when you drag a guide down, okay, it will apply the guide to the entire spread. Okay, likewise, if you press Alt or Option when you drag a guide, okay, from the horizontal ruler, it will actually flip it and make it into vertical. Okay, so that's kind of cool. Now, if you drag a guide from the vertical ruler while you're holding your Alt or your Option, of course, it will change that guide into horizontal. All right, so I want to take a look at this here in just a second. All right, but at the top of this section, there is an about page numbering. So when you guys get to that portion, when you're reading this lesson, make sure you read that as well. Okay, so I want to stop here and tell you how extremely important it is that you pay attention to what you are reading. This lesson is kind of involved, if you will, because so far with the 3 lessons that we have done, we have opened up a lesson file that has already been started for us, okay? And in this lesson, we are creating everything from scratch. All right? So we want to make sure that what we're doing is done on the right page, okay? So everything that we are going to do to 03_ setup is going to be done to A parent, okay? That is extremely important. Please hear me. You have got to make sure you are in the right spot when you are creating these guides, creating text boxes, and using your rectangle frame tool to create frames in order to be able to place images. This is very important. If for some reason you happen to be on a different spread page when you're doing this, you are going to find that you're going to have to start over. And I will tell you why. Because in this lesson, you are going to be turning in 2 files. 03_ setup is going to be from the start of this lesson over until about page 76. Okay, everything that you're going to do is going to be done on 03 setup, and it's going to be done up here on A parent. Okay, then we're going to move over to page 78, and we're going to do a file save as, and we're going to change the file name to 03_ newsletter. Everything else that you do on the remaining 10, 11 pages, however many pages we have left of this lesson, all of that will be done on 03 newsletter on pages 2 and 3. Okay? If you do not do this right, I can't give you points. There's 2 files. There should be nothing but the page layout on 03 setup, and on newsletter, only pages, spread pages 2 and 3 will be formatted. Okay? All right. I'm going to come back up here and I'm going to click on A parent, because right now, you guys, all these pages look the same. The parent page and the document pages, they all look the same. They're all 3 column, okay? So you need to make sure you're in the right spot. You can look at the A parent. Here will be highlighted blue. Right here will say A parent. Okay, now what we're going to do, I'm going to click off my page right here so that you guys can see the full spread when I do this. I'm going to come to my menu bar at the top and go to Layout, and right here is Create Guides. Okay, I'm going to make sure Preview is selected, because as I'm putting these values in, it's going to create it for me if my preview is selected. So we can actually see the guides going in behind us. Okay, I'm going to enter 4 for the number of rows. And for the gutter, I need to decrease this to 0.125 inches. For my columns, and we can see these here. You see them? All right. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. All right. And right here is 0.125 inches for our gutter. On our column, we want 2 columns. Okay. And I don't think they're going to have, oh yeah, we do. We have to change this to 0. All right. So now you can see we have 1, 2 columns and there is no gutter. So it's merely just the guide. All right. Separating those columns. Okay. Please make sure that your Fit Guides to is set to page. Mine was by default. I don't want to assume that yours is. So just double check that. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. And this is what yours should look like up to this point. Okay, I also want to go stop here for just a second and explain to you that for the sake of time, I am not working every single step in every section of this lesson. Okay, so you may find that if you're starting your homework with me and you've gotten to this point, that's great. Make sure that you Control S and save. But you're going to have to follow along with the book as you're watching my lecture video. And you may have to pause, all right, and minimize the YouTube video and then work the steps and read that portion in the book that I don't cover, okay? I cannot cover for the sake of time every single step, but I am going to cover the vast majority of it. But I just wanted you to know. All right, so if you're following along with me on my lecture video, that's wonderful. Just make sure that you are pausing because I'm not doing everything, okay? So I'm getting enough that you guys can understand what you're going to be doing, okay? And also, this is a great point in the lesson because we're just getting our guide set up to stop and also explain to you that it would not hurt for you to go ahead and open the end file that I have provided. I know I have provided for you the PDF, and you can totally open that up and take a look at that. But I'm also going to open it during the lecture video and allow you guys to see that as I'm working. And I'm going to refer back to that because I find that that's going to be helpful to you as you read and work this lesson. All right. The lesson goes into great detail explaining, which is wonderful, but I find that the screenshots that they provide, in my opinion, are lacking a little bit. Some of their screenshots are very small, and maybe you may find that you're unable to determine, okay, if I'm going to drag to create a text box or a graphics frame, where am I putting it? Okay. So if you're watching it on the screen, and then I'm also showing you the end file, I think that will be greatly helpful to you so that you make sure that you get your elements in the right spots. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to go ahead and open that. Okay. Okay. Now, before we go any further, I want to take a look at what we have. Okay. All right. So this is where we're going to be doing all of our work. Okay. So our A parent page will very soon be renamed as 3-column layout. Okay. And then we will be adding a B parent page, which we will rename as 2-column layout. All right. Now, I believe parent page C and D, that's part of the exploring on your own, and we're not doing that. So I'm just throwing that out there. There's actually quite a few here you can kind of see. I don't think we're doing C. I can't remember off the top of my head if C and D is part of the exploring on your own or what, but whatever part of that is, you don't have to do that. All right, the exploring on your own. The majority of what I'm going to show you right now with this lesson and what you have to do will be done on A, and then we will create the B parent page based on A and apply it down here. Okay, so you'll end up applying it to different pages as we go. Okay. All right. So right now we don't have anything on our pages. All right. This is the end file. Okay. So what we're going to end up having is basically a text frame and an image frame. And then we're going to flip that and have an image frame and then a text frame. Okay. Just know that whenever you are drawing or creating your graphics or your text frames, that even if you don't get them perfect, that's okay because you can use your selection tool and you can resize. Okay, that's totally fine. All right, so we are going to have some text here and here and here and here. Okay, this that you see up here, which is blue and green, is just a snippet. And I'll explain what that is when the time comes. All right. So everything that we're going to do is going to be done on a parent. You can see that I'm on a 3-column layout, and you can see that right here. Okay. And this is going to be on the 03 setup portion. All right. Now, I had mentioned that you will, in addition, be turning in a second file for this lesson, and that will be 03_newsletter. The only thing that will be formatted, okay, on 03 newsletter is spread pages 2 and 3. And this is what it will look like when it's done. All right. So I think that if I just leave this open as I'm lecturing, I think that this is just going to be helpful. And we'll take a look and go back to this so that you can see what I'm talking about. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and pick back up where we left off. Okay. Now I'm still under working with parent pages, but now that I have used my layout and create guides to create the light blue or the cyan colored lines that you see, the guides on my screen. Now we do have to create some additional guides. Okay, very easy to do, and I'm going to walk you through that. All right, now we are looking at a spread, okay, on a parent. Now remember me telling you that I'm going to drag a guide down from the top ruler, the horizontal ruler at the top. Now remember, if I drag a guide down, I want to show you as I drag, my cursor changes to an arrow that is, it's basically a vertical arrow. You can kind of see, you know, it's the arrow is like up and down, okay? As I drag it down, it doesn't matter what side I drag it on, it doesn't get it on both sides. All right, that's why it is extremely important that we hold our control button down when we drag if we want that guide to appear on both sides of the page. Okay, so we actually want this guide to be all the way at the top, and just do the best you can. Okay, I understand you're new to this. All right, try to get as close on the Y coordinate to 0.375 inches as possible. Okay. All right, now we need to drag another one down. So I'm going to hold my control button and I'm going to drag one down. This one's going to go all the way to the bottom, and the Y coordinate is going to be 10.75 inches. Yep, it's going almost at the bottom. Okay. All right, now we have 2 more guides to drag out, but these ones are going to be vertical. Okay. All right, so we are going to drag a guide. Okay, now I did want to show you that if I drag a guide down, and I'm going to need a vertical guide. Okay, so I can totally drag from this side. Okay, but if I actually start dragging from the horizontal and I add in here my alt, it automatically changed it to vertical for me. So I just wanted to show you that. All right, so I'm going to flip that one, and this one needs to be at 0.5 inches. Okay. And then I'm going to create one more guide. And this one's going to be at 16.5 inches on the X coordinate that you can see here. There. All right. So now we are looking at our page. Okay. Still pointing it out. This is our document that we see, the edge of our document, the 8.5 by 11. Here is our bleed guides. All right. So our margin guides are in kind of the dark pink color, but we have 3 columns that's sitting on our margins. So that's why you see the purple, because we do have a column here. We have our gutters in between. And then the same applies to our guides. All of these light blue lines are our guides. The ones that was the last active will be darker blue. Okay. All right. And so you can see we have 2 columns, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. And those rows do have a small gutter in between. Okay. Of course, we actually have guides, and these guides are there specifically so that our text has, we can use those so that our text doesn't get too close to the edge. Okay. So a lot of times in your portfolio projects that you guys will have at the end, when we are completely done with the book, those portfolio guides, you'll always hear me say, hey, you guys drag some guides over so that you make sure your text boxes don't get too close to the edge. All right. So I would be safe in saying your text boxes should never really extend past your margin. All right. That way it doesn't get too close to the edge and risk getting trimmed away or cut off by your printer. All right. Create a text frame on a parent page. Any text or graphic that you place on a parent page appears on the document pages to which the parent is applied. Okay. All right. So you still have to make sure you are on your A parent page when you do this. Okay. All right. So I'm going to use my type tool, because the first thing I'm going to do is to create a text box. Okay. And what I want to do is I want to draw a text box, okay, on the left side of the parent page, all right? And I'm going to click where the 2 ruler guides intersect above the leftmost column. And I'm basically going to just drag down, and I'm going to create a text box. At this point, I'm not really going to get too picky on how big, what the width and height is of my text box, because we're going to end up resizing that here in just a few more pages. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I am going to, my cursor is blinking. And in fact, I'm going to zoom in on that so you guys can actually see it. My cursor is blinking inside my text box. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I am going to come up on my menu bar at the top, and I'm going to go to type and insert special character and marker and current page number. Okay. And notice that it inserted a capital A. And you're probably like, okay, why? Well, good question if you're thinking that. It's because I'm on the A parent page. All right. Now, if done correctly at this step, you should have a capital A. You never just want to type a capital A in there. You want InDesign to put automatic page numbering in for you, and that is the way that you do it. That way, whenever you come down, and we're going to look at that in a second, when we take a look at our pages, the capital A, the automatic, page numbering will be replaced with the actual page number on the document page. Okay, so that's very important. All right, with my cursor blinking right after A, I can issue a right click and still get the same features that was up here on type and my menu bar. I'm going to insert a white space, and I'm going to choose the M space, EM. Basically, that gives me the distance of that. Okay, so you can see that gives me a nice space here. All right, and then I'm going to type in here Garden News. I'm going to highlight this and make sure this is Myriad Pro. Mine was Minion Pro. So I'm just going to leave that as Myriad Pro, and I am going to change it to bold. I think that they have us change that to bold. All right, and now what they want us to do is change the case to uppercase. All right, so I'm going to go to type and change case, and I can go ahead and do the uppercase. Okay, so I'm going to do a Control B on my keyboard, and that is going to open for me my text frames options dialog box. Okay, I'm going to set my left and right inset margins, which is right here, to 0.125. So it's my left and right. Okay, basically inset spacing. I'm going to try to move this out of the way so that you can see it. I have my preview clicked. All right, so my inset spacing is basically going to allow a little white space on the left and right side from the text and the edge of the text box. Okay, and then I'm going to change vertical justification to center, and then I'm going to click OK. So if I click off of that, you can now see that I have some space here. All right, on the left and right, you can see. And now I am centered vertically. Okay, so now I want to use my selection tool, which is V on my keyboard, and up in my control panel at the top, I want to set my reference point in the control panel to the upper left, okay, because I want to reference this spot right here, okay? And then I'm going to enter these settings on the X and Y coordinates and also the width and height of this text box. All right, so I'm going to do, for my X, 0.25 inch, and for my Y, it's going to be 0.5 inch. My width is going to be 2. Now you can use your arrows or you can type in there too. Make sure you leave your I in for inch. If not, you'll have to put it back in there. And the height of our text box, we're going to change that to 0.3125 inches. Okay, so this is in the place that it needs to be based on the reference point in the upper left-hand corner. Okay. Now I'm going to fit spread in window, and what I'm going to do now is with my selection tool, I am going to hold down my Alt button, and with my Alt button held down, look at my cursor, you guys. It is a black and white arrow, okay? So doing that is basically going to duplicate. So when you're holding your Alt button down over something, your cursor turns into a duplicate, if you will. All right, and now I'm going to drag this one straight over to this side, and notice it's keeping it in the same alignment. Okay, do you see the line coming out of the middle? All right, that way you're duplicating and you're dragging it across, and it's keeping it basically in the same line. All right, now here's the great thing about duplicating with the Alt button. It keeps us from recreating a second text box and then having to go back through and type in there put the M space in there and do Garden News, change it to Myriad Pro, and then change it to uppercase. All right, so now we have less that we have to do. So it's just basically a nice shortcut. Okay, now what we have to do is we need to change our reference point in the duplicated text box. Now we want to reference this upper right corner. So now we need to change our reference in our control panel to the upper right. All right, and now the X value, watch what I'm about to do here. I'm going to highlight, I'm going to leave the I in for inches. I'm going to put in here 17, and I'm going to put minus 0.25. Don't press enter. Okay, press tab. But I want you guys to watch the X coordinate box in the control panel when I press tab. Okay, it changed it to 16.75 inches. So our control panel, it can actually do some math on positions. Okay, could you have just typed in there 16.75 inches? Absolutely. All right, but I just wanted to show you that you could actually do some simple math in those coordinate boxes. Okay, so what we want to do now is we have to do some formatting. Actually, we want to move our page over here to the right side along with the M space. All right, so we just kind of need to swap the text that's in this box. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in so that you can see it. Put my cursor in here. And I'm just going to go ahead and delete the A and the M space. And then I'm going to put my cursor on this side, right click, and put the M space back in. And then I can right click again and go ahead and put in my marker and my current page number. Now, the only other thing I need to do is I just need to make sure that this is right aligned. All right, we want the one on the left aligned. We want the one on the right aligned. Okay, so I'm happy with this. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my fit my spread in my window. And I'm going to select both of those. And I just shift clicked both of them. All right. And so I don't want to have to recreate text boxes. I'm taking the easy way out. All right. So I'm going to use my Alt button and I'm going to drag the selected text boxes down here to the bottom. Okay. And I'm probably just going to rest them right on top of that guide. Okay. Just for right now, we can move it later. I'm going to zoom in and do some formatting to these down here. These do not need to be bold, so we can change these back to regular. I'm going to change the size to 10 point. And they want us to change the case back to just regular. So title case gives us that mix of upper and lowercase. And then I can replace this with Urban Oasis Garden. And I need to do the exact same thing over here. Okay, if you want, you can copy that. And paste. You just want to make sure that you right align that so that Urban Oasis Garden on the right, bottom right, is right aligned. I'm going to go ahead and do a Control S and I'm going to save where I'm at so far. Okay, I'm on to renaming the parent page. When you have multiple parent pages, you will want to give each one a more descriptive name to make them easier to identify. Now, I'm going to give you some desktop publishing terminology. All right, and this little tidbit is not in our book. Okay, the left side of a page, okay, that is actually called verso. The right side of a page, okay, of a spread, that is called recto. All right, so that's important. So make sure you guys remember that. Okay. All right, I'm back up here in my parent pages. And just to recap what renaming the parent page is, if we just take a quick look at our end file, we have renamed everything, okay? So we're at least going to be renaming parent A and parent B, okay? We're going to rename those to 3-column layout and 2-column layout. So you guys, you just don't want to leave those A parent, B parent, C parent, D parent. And it's true. You want to actually give it a more meaningful name so that when you go to apply it, you know exactly what it is. Okay. I say the exact same thing about working with layers, especially layers in Photoshop. You don't want those things generically labeled layer 1, 2, 3. You want to rename that thing what it is. Okay. Same thing applies to the parent pages in InDesign. All right. I'm going to come back over here to my setup. So my A parent is still selected. Okay, I'm going to come up here to my panels, my pages panel button. And it says there's going to be a button here that has parent options for A parent. I'm going to click that open. Okay, so my prefix, I'm going to leave that A. Okay, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and rename this 3 and then dash column layout. All right, so that tells me exactly what that is, which is great because that is our 3 columns that we're currently working with. Adding placeholder frames for text. Each document will have text and images, so you may want to add the placeholder text frames and graphics frames that are needed to appear on each page to which the parent page has been applied. Okay, again, everything that we're going to do is going to be done right here on the parent. So I'm going to come back up here and fit my spread in my window so that you guys can see. All right, so we're going to use our type tool, which is T on our keyboard. That's the keyboard shortcut. That's what's going to help us to create our text frames. Our rectangle frame tool is F on our keyboard. All right, that's the keyboard shortcut. That is going to create our graphics frames. Okay, that's what we're going to put our images into. All right, so here is where it does help to kind of go back and forth in between and see exactly what we need to do. Okay, so taking a look at what the book, how it explains what you're about to do, and the teeny little bitty screenshot that they give you, okay, this is going to be helpful. All right, so again, text box is going in right here, text box is going in right here. All right, graphics frame here, graphics frame here. All right, that's the gist of what we're doing. Okay. All right, so I'm going to start with my type tool. Okay, and I'm going to click to drag to create one that is right here. And again, if it's not perfect, don't worry about it. Grab your selection tool and resize. Okay. If we take a look at the end file and then we take a look at the pages panel for spread pages 2 and 3, you can see that the text isn't actually going over here to the margin. Okay, I totally have made that mistake in the past, so I speak from experience. Okay, it's actually just coming right here to the guide that we had set up at 0 point, like what, 5 inches, I think we put that guide. So the text box is just going right here. Okay, same on this side. The text box is just going to where that guide is, you know, at 16.25 or 75, wherever we had put that guide. Okay, I'm just pointing that out to you. So if you accidentally come all the way over to the edge of the page, don't worry about it. You can just resize. It's not a big deal. Okay, you can even do it later on the newsletter on page 2 and 3 if you have to. Okay, all right. So we're going to do the exact same thing over here. I'm going to deselect. I'm going to grab my type tool. And I'm going to start right here on the line and I'm going to drag over here to the left to create a text box. Okay, again, please make sure you're doing this on your 3-column A parent page. Okay, all right, clicking and making sure both of those are in the right place. Now we're going to press deselect. All right, so you don't want your text box selected when you press F on your keyboard because it could put the letter F inside of your text box. All right, so deselect by clicking out in your pasteboard and then press F on your keyboard, okay? Or you can simply just find your rectangle frame tool. It's the one that looks like a rectangle with the X in it. And so basically what you're going to do is you are going to draw a rectangle frame that's going to fit right here. All right, and you're going to do the exact same thing right here. Okay, now what differentiates for us between a text frame and an image or like a graphics frame is that the graphics frames have these little dots in them that form an X. So that's a visual indicator to us that that's not a text box. You're going to be putting an image in there. Okay. Also, I wanted to show you that as you begin working now, your contextual taskbar is probably going to start showing up, okay, depending on what you're doing in your document area. All right. So I'm happy with this. I'm going to go ahead and do a Control S, and I'm going to save what I have. Okay, please make sure you guys save often because Adobe is known to crash. All right, creating an additional parent page. You can create multiple parent pages within a document, and we know that because we looked at the end file. All right, you can build them independently, which means they can be done from scratch, not tied to anything, or you can base them off an existing parent page. Keep in mind, any changes to the first original parent page would obviously be reflected in the second parent page that's based on it, okay? All right, so I'm going to come over here to, first off, I am going to deselect by clicking in my pasteboard area, come to my pages panel. All right, I need my pages panel options button. And then there's going to be new parent right here. Okay. All right, so I'm going to click that. It's going to open up the new parent dialog box. All right, by default, it assigns it the prefix B. Can you change that? Absolutely. I'm going to leave it B, all right, because that just totally makes sense. Okay, that I do not want to leave this B parent, so I'm going to change it to 2 dash column layout. Now, here's the thing. Do we want this based on a parent, or do we want to leave it as none and leave it an independent blank on its own separate parent page? Okay, well, for this particular step in our lesson, we do want this thing based on the work that we've done so far with our A parent page. So I'm going to go ahead and tell InDesign, oh yeah, we want this one right here. And I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. Okay, so now look at the Pages panel. B, 2-column layout, is based on A, all right? And we know that because there is an A in the upper left and upper right corners of the pages, okay? So if I click on B, look, it's the exact same, all right? 1, 2, 3 column. Our text box is here. Our graphics frames are here. It's basically a carbon copy of it. Okay, so now what I want to do now that I have the B parent page selected is I do want to change this because our name says 2 columns, so we can't have 3 column. We have to change that. So I'm going to go to Layout and Margins and Columns, and this is just a quick way for me to change this. And so all I'm going to do is change the number of columns to 2. Okay, they may have you adjust the gutter on that. I don't know. If you can totally change the gutter. I'm just going to leave it for the sake of time. All right, so now our B parent page matches 1, 2, 2 columns. Okay. All right, overriding parent pages. To unlock an element, to change it or delete it on a child page, you will need to click the element that you wish to unlock and press Shift Control if you're Windows or Shift Command if you're on a Mac. Okay, and you're probably like, okay, what did you just say? All right, so let's take a look. So if we are on a 3-column layout, you can select whatever you want because that's where all the work was done. If we come down here on B, okay, notice I can't select nothing with my selection tool because it's locked. All right, so if I wanted to resize my text and my graphics frames, I have to unlock them. All right, they're just simply locked so that they don't get moved, okay, or accidentally deleted. And in order to do that, you just hold down your Shift and Control and click. Shift, Control, click, okay? That's all you're doing. Shift, Control, click. All right, and you'll have to do that for pretty much every element, that you need to change. That does include down here on pages 2 and 3. All right, you have to Shift Control, not the guides, my bad. You have to Shift Control click to unlock the text and graphics frames that you created. Okay, if you need to change down here or move, once we place a snippet, if we need to move something, we're going to have to unlock it by Shift and Control clicking it. All right, does that make sense? All right, I hope so. I'm going to come back up here on my 3-column layout. Okay, applying parent pages to document pages. All right, so there's really not too much more that we are going to do to our A parent page, except we have to put in this right here. You see this kind of light blue and light green area right here? Well, that's just a snippet, okay? It's basically an element. In this case, it's, excuse me, it's a graphic that's already been created for us, all right? It's saved in our links folder for lesson 3, so we don't have to create it, which is great. We can just open it up and place it. All right, so I'm back over here, making sure I am on A. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and collapse my pages panel here. All right, I'm going to go to File and Place. I need to navigate, make sure I'm in my lesson 3. Inside your lesson 3 folder is a links folder. Okay, this has got several things in it we're going to use here today. You want to make sure that you have header snippet. All right. If I scroll over here, I just wanted to point out that this is not a traditional INDD file. It is not an IDML file that we talked about in lesson on exporting and packaging. This is an IDMS, an InDesign markup snippet. Okay. And this file extension, this file works perfectly inside of InDesign. Okay. All right, so if you're wondering what a snippet is just a file that contains InDesign elements, okay, including their location relative to one another on a page or on a spread. And of course, they're imported. All right, and we do that by importing them into our layout with file in place. All right, InDesign can also let you export selected objects as a snippet file, okay, that's kind of cool as well. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to open this. And before I do anything, you do not want anything selected when you do this. Okay, so please make sure that you click out before you go to File in Place. Make sure you click out in your pasteboard and have nothing selected. Because if you do, it may want to place the snippet in what you have selected, and you don't want to do that. Okay, so if we take a look, we kind of get this loaded snippet icon. Okay, so you see my cursor has, it's really no different than the loaded text or the loaded graphics icon, except we have a snippet loaded, okay? And you can see the thumbnail view of that, all right? It looks like we're gonna insert white or transparent space, okay? And then we are going to end up putting in that little header, okay? So where they're basically just gonna have us click is in the upper left corner where the bleed guides meet. So this is just like right here, and you're just going to click one time. All right. And basically, it's going to place that for you. Okay. Which is great. All right. But guess what, you guys? Did you notice something when I placed it? What is now hidden that was there before that is not there now? Can anybody guess? All right, so our text boxes that had our page numbers in them, all right, they're hidden now, okay, but don't worry about it. What we're gonna do is we're gonna leave our snippet highlighted and selected like it is. You see the bounding box around it. We're gonna leave it selected, okay? And we're gonna come up in our menu bar at the top and go to Object and Arrange, and we're just gonna send that all the way to the back, okay? That's all we're gonna do. It basically takes it and pushes it to the back. Okay, and this has to do with levels in layering, which we will talk about in another lesson. And then we're able to see our automatic page numbering and our garden news that is in all uppercase. Okay, perfect. So what I need to do is I need to actually select on this side over here. Okay, it's going to be the right-hand side. All right, and it's this side right here, obviously, that you see selected. And then over here in our swatches panel, okay, there is a green bright medium, and they're just going to have us to select that, okay? And we're just merely going to change the color of the background. All right, give it a little bit of visual interest, okay? So now we have blue on the left, and we have the light green on the right-hand side. Now, this was done on the A page. Okay, so let's take a look at our pages panel. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do a Control S real quick and save what I have. If we come down here, all right, A is still applied to every single one of these pages. We know because we see the A in the upper left and upper right hand corner. So if I click on page 1, all right, that's a right hand or right side page. All right, so it's got the green at the top. If I click on spread pages 2 and 3, notice my page number says 2 and my page number now says 3. Blue is on the left, green is on the right. Okay, if I just scroll down, page number A is now replaced with page 4 and page 5. Noticing the page numbers. Okay, do you see that? All right, that's why it's important when you insert page numbers, you use the automatic ones. all right? Just like what I showed you in the lecture video and they present to you in the book. Don't ever just type the number in there, okay? And I'll tell you why. Because if you go to add pages, you're going to have to select all of those numbers, delete them out, and renumber them yourself. Okay, it is not worth it. Please make sure you put in the automatic page numbers because InDesign will handle it for you. And we're about to insert a whole bunch of pages, and guess what? It's going to automatically renumber those pages for us. All right, so you just let InDesign do the work. Okay. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to come back up here into my pages panel. All right, I'm going to click back up here into my A. So just at this portion in the lesson, they're just going to have us to apply B to spread pages 4 and 5. Now, when you are all done with the lesson, there will be different parents applied to different pages, but just where we're at right here, I just wanted to show you how you can do that. Okay, so I'm going to highlight B. And I'm going to drag B. I'm going to hold my left mouse button down and drag. And if I hover over spread pages 4 and 5, look, it's got the hand and it looks like it's grabbing that parent spread. And now you can see a black, dark outline, if you will, around the whole entire spread. And if I release, now my pages 4 and 5 are now B is applied to spread pages 4 and 5. Okay. And none, I think they're going to have us to, I'm going to go ahead and just click none. They're going to have us apply, I think, none to page 1. Okay. So you'll probably end up applying different ones to the different pages as we add more pages. Okay. All right, so adding new document pages. You can add new pages to an existing document by going to the Pages panel option button and selecting Insert Pages, okay, from the Insert Pages dialog box, or you can use the Pages panel to arrange the sequence of pages and delete them, okay? So down here, you can create a new page. You can also delete a selected page. All right, but what they're talking about is actually right here. You can insert pages. You can duplicate and delete spreads, parents, okay? You can print certain pages. You can create a new page. You can apply a parent to pages. So instead of dragging it from the upper portion of the Pages panel down to the document pages, you can actually apply it this way. You can override all parent page items. So instead of clicking Shift Control or Shift Command for everything, all of those different elements or items on a page, you can just override all of them so they're selectable. All right, so there's all kinds of things that you can do from in here. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're just going to go ahead and insert some pages. Okay, so we are going to put 6 pages in, but they want us to insert these pages and watch what happens over here when I do this. We're going to insert 6 pages after page, I believe it is 4. Okay, and then we're just going to choose none for applying a parent page to it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And notice I was on page 4. Now page 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 are added. Page numbers are restructured. Okay, they renumbered it. InDesign renumbered them for us, and it applied a blank parent page to it. Okay, pretty easy. I'm going to let you guys finish this section for sure, so make sure you pause and catch yourself up before you go on. All right. I'm going to go ahead and do a Control S. I'm going to save my 03 setup where I'm at right now. Okay. Now, realizing I did not work every single step and every section from the beginning of the lesson through page 76. You guys will have to go back and make sure you read and work every step. Okay. I just kind of showed you the big picture, if you will. Okay. Now I want to move on to overriding parent page items and placing text and graphics. Okay, so we are moving right along, and I hope you guys are finding this particular lecture video very helpful to you. Okay. All right. So now, as I had explained, all of the parent work is going to be done on 03 setup. Okay. So what we need to do now is we need to do a save as and now finish this out. But what we're going to finish is actually going to be right here on pages 2 and 3. Okay, that's what we need to finish. So over here on my 03 setup, I'm going to go to File and Save As, and I'm going to change this name. I'm not going to overwrite it. Okay, you need to make sure you're changing this. If you want full points, you need to have 2 files. What you see on my current 03 setup is what needs to be on it. Then save it as 03 newsletter, and then page 2 and 3 is what will be on that one. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. My document tab up here, you'll notice now has newsletter. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we are going to place the rest of the snippets so that our page, spread page 2 and 3, looks like that end file. Okay. So I'm going to come down here and click on my spread pages 2 and 3, making sure that if yours is not already unlocked, that you guys are Shift Control or Shift Command clicking these things right here. And it probably would not hurt to go ahead and Shift click these on the page as well, just in case you have to move something. Okay. And we are going to be changing the names of these. So you want to make sure that those are also, that those are also selectable. Okay. All right. So what we need to do now is I'm going to make sure that there is nothing selected. Everything is unlocked on pages 2 and 3. Okay. And then I'm going to go to File and Place. And in our links folder, they have provided for us everything that we need to finish this out, and even some additional things we're not going to use. Okay. So make sure you are selecting these in the correct order, because this is the order that they will be placed. All right. So you want to select Article 1 text, and then Article 2, Graphic 1 Honeybee 1, and Graphic 2 Garden Tools. And I just used my control button to select those in order. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on Open. Okay. And if you look at my loaded icon over here, because I had 2 text files loaded first, it's actually the loaded text icon. But notice in parentheses it says 4, that I actually have 4 files selected. Okay. We want to place these in the order that we initially selected them. So we're going to place 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Okay. And if by chance you don't get this done perfectly and don't get it in the right spot, it's okay. You can use your selection tool and resize it. All right. So you want to make sure that your cursor is inside where the text box is, not out here, inside. All right. Remember, our text box is lined up with this guide, and then click to place it. Okay. Now notice the cursor, how it changes. All right. If I click outside, it looks like it's going, the cursor changes like it's going to place its own text box. If I move it inside, it looks like it has parentheses. Okay. So just kind of trying to be helpful and point these things out so that you don't miss them. All right. And I'm going to click inside. Oops, there it goes. So I clicked inside, and there I've got my soil for the garden. I'm going to place, now I want you to see my cursor, okay? Because I don't think that when you're reading the book probably doesn't even show you this. Look at my cursor. I'm not hovering over an existing graphics frame. So look at my cursor. Now when I am, see how the cursor changes from unfilled to filled? Okay, there's one of your visual indicators. Okay, there's an extra little tidbit for you. All right, see, I'm not hovering over a graphics frame, so the cursor is kind of white, if you will, or unfilled. And then when I hover, it turns black. Okay, and then of course I get my lovely contextual taskbar at the bottom. Okay, now if for some reason yours went crazy, don't worry about it. You can undo, all right, and then try it again. And if you accidentally clicked outside here and it loaded it in like a full column, it looks like a newspaper column, just resize it and then drag it and you can have it fit inside. Okay, for today. All right, so this is great. The next thing I need to do, obviously, is we need to make sure that we're placing this portion right here. And thank goodness, you guys, we are not placing those one at a time. That's coming in as one whole snippet, okay? All right, so I'm gonna come back over here to mine, and I'm gonna go to File and Place. Okay, and then the next one that I need is going to be Snippet 2. So I'm gonna have to scroll down. All right, here's the second snippet. It's an InDesign markup snippet, so it's an IDMS. I'm going to go ahead and open it. Please make sure nothing is selected when you do this. All right, so I'm just hovering out here so that you can see what I'm about to do. All right, this is an image, okay? And so we want to be very careful where we place it. All right, as you can see, it looks like the pictures are just on the bottom half, which is exactly what we need, okay? But notice the top is white, or in this case, it would actually be transparent. So we want to make sure we place it in the right spot. And so I think what the book is having us do is come right back up here to the top at the upper left corner where the bleed guides meet, and then just click one time. Okay. All right. And then it placed them. Okay. All right. So that's kind of cool. Now, I'm going to deselect. I wanted to show you why we set bleed guides up. Okay. So this area between the edge of the page, and you can see it up here in the header. Okay. At least on the blue side. Over here on the green side, some of this image hangs off over here, hangs off on the bottom, hangs off on the bottom, and these two here and this here. All right. So if we take a look at this in preview mode, that's what it would look like if it was printed. Okay, do you see that? And if I switch over here to bleed guides, it would actually show you what portion is going to get trimmed off outside of this black line, which is the document size of our publication, okay, of our document. Okay, and then this is what that looks like in presentation. Cool, isn't it? All right, I'm going to my escape key. And then I'm going to come back over here into normal view. Okay. So the only thing that we need to do now is you guys are going to end up replacing the text up here, okay, for the placeholder. All right. So that's the last thing we're going to end up doing. Okay, so we need to actually go ahead and put bees and bugs here and the gardening tips here. So if this is not selectable on this text box, just make sure that you guys do a shift control click on those so that way they're editable. All right, because remember that those were locked. I think I had pretty much unlocked everything, but probably those. All right, so I'm going to deselect off of that and grab my type tool and come in here and select this and then type in here bees and bugs. Okay, come on this side and well, I was going to try to do a triple click. There we go. And then this one will be gardening tips. Great. All right. Now, taking a look at the end file, okay, I know that the end file for on this one here, of course, if we're taking a look at page 2 and 3 has the bees and bugs and gardening tips, okay. All right, so I'm just going to do a quick like move back and forth in between these two, okay, and you can see that mine page 2 and 3 is almost exact, okay, which is what you're after, okay. All right. So if we go back over here to the Pages panel and then just double check our A3 column and our B2 column, okay, these should also match. Okay, All right. So when you are all done with that, make sure you're just doing your last final save. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and close this one out because I don't need this one anymore. Okay. All right. So I'm going to click on pages 2 and 3 so that you guys can look at that. All right. So your page numbers, Garden News, and Garden News page 2 and 3 should be visible. Your Urban Oasis Garden on each side on the bottom should be visible. If they're not, remember that you can shift control or shift command, click those text boxes, use your selection tool, or you can select them and you can use your arrow keys on your keyboard to arrow them into position. Okay. So this is what your 03 newsletter should look like when it is done. Okay, remember you're turning in 03 setup where all the work was done on the 3-column layout. Okay, we did add the 2-column B parent layout. We saved, got all that set up, and we came over here and then did 03 newsletter based on the 03 setup. Page 2 and 3, this is what it looks like. Okay. All right. So the last thing that I want to cover just very quickly was just wrapping up the lesson on using bleed guides. Okay, printing to the edge of the paper using the bleed guides. Okay. Lastly is a very important topic of your bleed guides. Okay. If any element will print all the way to the edge of the paper, you will need to account for how that is accomplished in commercial printing. Bleed guides ensure artwork is large enough because they show the minimum distance items must extend, and they help produce a clean edge because the blade cuts through the printed image. It is best practice to set up the bleed as you are building your publication from the beginning with the design and production process. You can also use the bleed screen mode, like I showed you guys just a few minutes ago, to view the document with the bleed guides set up. Okay, and right at the very end of this lesson, after you guys view the completed spread, that's actually the last page that you're going to do. I think they just have you like look at that and preview and like presentation mode. If you turn the page, there is a rotating spreads. Please make sure you guys read that because that's kind of cool. You can have pages rotated. Okay. They give the example in here. It's actually a calendar. Okay. And there may be at some point that you might need to do that to one of your pages. Okay. In a project or something, that's coming up. Exploring on your own, never required, so you don't have to do that. Okay. All right. This wraps up lesson 3, and I appreciate you guys so much for hanging in there with me through a lesson that was, in my opinion, a lot more involved than the ones that we've done so far. All right. If you guys have any questions at all, please let me know. Thanks, guys.